What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Cliff, and today I have a very, very special guest, content creator, producer, writer. He's had a hand in a lot of big-time entertainment projects. Dorian Graham. Appreciate you coming on the SANE Show, man. I'm super excited. I've been hyping up a lot of people about this. They don't know what's coming to them with this one. They really don't.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and the fact that people think I'm a bigger deal than what I don't think, because it's no, I get it, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm here for the people always.
Cool. Oh man, I can already tell, even based on the conversation we were having before the show, it's going to be a good recording. Really quick, before I introduce the topics, I want to take a moment to shout out all our listeners in all 50 plus countries. Thank you guys for continuing to listen, like, share, subscribe, rate, leave comments, all that kind of fun stuff for the SANE Show. I really appreciate it. You guys have really been a big part of this journey and helping get the SANE Show to the level that it's on today. And if you're listening and you don't already follow the SANE Show, be sure to check us out and follow us on IG and Twitter, the SANE_show. That's SANE, SANE_show. Again, SANE_show, the SANE_show on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find us on Facebook, the SANE Show. Again, on Facebook, that's the SANE Show. All right, really quick, we're going to talk about the importance of sketch comedy shows. And then we're also going to talk about running an entertainment company. Following that, we're going to have our interview with Dorian so the listeners can get to learn more about you, some of the things that you've done during the course of your career, and then some of the projects that you got your hands in now. So let's go ahead and kick things off with the first topic, all right?
Okay.
And the importance of sketch comedy. So we were having a conversation about this before the show, and one of the things I look at, and like I mentioned prior to the recording, is how important of a role that sketch comedy plays, sketch comedy show. When I was thinking about this topic, shows like SNL, Wild 'N Out, Mad TV, even heck, Chappelle Show, right? Nickelodeon's, all that. You know, Kenan Thompson and Kel came out of that. A lot of comedians more so, or really
Right.
comedians, have benefited from sketch comedy shows. And
Absolutely.
that's what makes them so important, right? Because there's not, when you think about the big picture, right, as far as entertainment, there's not, at least in my eyes, and from what I've seen, there aren't too many platforms out here for comedians. And
Right.
and even when we talk about one of the biggest platforms that there are for comedians, you know, I think of Comedy Central, right? And that's pretty much the biggest. And then, but you have all the plethora of networks, and there's probably other networks out there, but smaller, but they don't get as much notoriety. So, from your experience, what are your thoughts on that, as far as like the importance of these kind of shows that spotlight comedians, up and
So
coming comedians more so?
so let's say it like this: comedy is very therapeutic, for the comedian and for the fans watching. Like, laughing is one of the best stress relievers you could have. Like,
Right.
being able to laugh at whether it's yourself or being familiar with the story that someone says because you've watched it happen to somebody you know or it's close to you. That's how comedy works. That's why the Black comics, we as a culture, when we go out and we see them, we're so engulfed and so laughing hard and falling out because it's something that we've taken part in. Like, we know somebody, one or two people away, that actually lived or did what that person said. And we thought
Right.
that joint was crazy when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to think that the way comedy has progressed, and realistically, social media has now given another outlet for comedians and comics to show the world who they are. And the funny thing is, Nick Cannon was probably one of the first people to kind of dive into the social media world, to start finding comics from social media, whether it was rap battles, whether it was YouTube, whether it was Vine, Instagram.
Yep.
He would find little people that he would come have audition, and they would do well. And once he put his his sauce on it and start teaching them, and they start to learn television, they just became stars. Like DC Young Fly is a prime example, who now
Yeah.
went from social media to like a star. Like
Right.
DC Young Fly is everywhere. He gets on different pilots, different movies. You know, he has his own thing that he does with Carlos Miller and Chico Bean called 85 South that they do on YouTube. That is just them being them, like talking about their lives, what they've encountered. And that's what comedy is all about, being able to just talk about your life. Not it's about the joke is about yourself. It's not
Right.
necessarily talking about somebody and who they are and bad mouthing them. It's about you and your life. There's nothing better than being able to laugh at yourself.
Very true. That is very true. You bring up a really great point, because that's why I love, and I'll be honest, a lot of people give Nick Cannon a hard time for various reasons, but for what he does and the impact that he has, that I don't think we give him enough credit for sometimes as a society and as a culture, is how he is impacting comedy with his show, right? And
Right.
like you said, tapping into social media, because when you mentioned, and I cannot believe when I was planning this, that slipped that part as far as like him really diving in, because I'm thinking about how people are using the social platforms to
Mm-hmm.
do their own sketch comedy, right? Because they're
Right.
funny.
Right.
But Nick being smart enough to say, this guy is talented. Let me give him a shot, right? Because so many names came to mind. Like you said, DC Youngfly, King Batch, Ha Ha Davis,
Right.
Rennie. And to see what has happened to a lot of those people after benefiting from Nick Cannon's platform a while now, getting endorsements, getting more shows, tours, and all, because people know them now, right? People that weren't in that within that demographic that they already have following them now know about them. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because I find joy looking at some of these comedians. I'm like, man, this guy's talented, man. I wish somebody give him a shot. And then boom,
Mm-hmm.
I see them posting, I'm about to be all wild and out. It's like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. That brings me to my next point, though. Again, like we were talking about earlier, as far as when it comes to comedy in the Black community, there was a void now that we don't have Comic View, right? Which gave
Right.
us comedians like, Bruce and Lavelle Crawford, and then
Right.
Def Comedy Jam that gave
Right.
us, man, Steve
Bernie,
Harvey, Bernie Mac,
every,
DL
yeah,
Hughley, and,
no, that one. And
yeah,
Lawrence, Chris Tucker, like
right.
everybody.
Martin Lawrence, like the list goes on for days. And so that's one of the things, because we hear the question all the time about like the next who's going to lead the next generation of comedians, right? Because I almost think of like Nick Cannon as like Russell Simmons today, right?
Right.
Because like it's crazy, because he's going, because he's tapping into a lot of these really good comedians out here, and putting them on a platform, giving them the help, getting them in the spotlight, and boom, they go and take off. It's crazy that I'm thinking about it now, because what he did is pretty much the Wild and Out platform kind of took the place of Def Comedy Jam, but in a
Right.
different way. It's its own thing. It's not a everything. If you try to replicate the formula, it may not work like it did the first time. So he
Right.
did his thing, and like that's the beautiful thing about it. And that's what it's a new breath, right? You still breathing life into sketch comedy, one. And that's the unique thing about the Wild and Out platform, is it's a nice mix, right? Because I was thinking about it too, on the spectrum when we talk about really sketch comedy and stand up. It's not SNL, right?
Right.
But it's not pure stand up either. And
Right.
with that formula that it has, it's right. It's like right there in the middle, right? Because
And
it's
it's in a lane of its own. Wild 'N Out is definitely in a lane of its own. And the crazy thing, another thing people don't really grasp, and even the cast don't really grasp it until later on, is
mhm,
that when they come in and do auditions and they make the show, he's actually now being able to give them new tools to help sharpen their comedy, whether it's learning how to rhyme on songs, whether it's being able to get your wit and your timing together. Like he's now teaching them things without them really knowing he's teaching it to them. Those games that they play are games that they've never played before. So they
Mm-hmm.
got to learn television. They got to learn where to stand. They got to learn when to hit their notes. They got to learn how to rhyme on a beat and get in and get out, get your joke quickly, like timing. They got to learn all these things that wilding out allows them to learn and allows them to become bigger people. Like so many people, man, have benefited off of wilding out. And if Nick would have done it the greedy way and made people sign deals where he now manages them, be out the roof. But he wasn't about that. He was just about creating a platform for him and his friends to do comedy because they weren't on TV.
That's definitely a cultural phenomenon. It really
Right.
is. And that, man, like I said, it's just crazy. And that's what I love about this show because, I tell people that's why I call about show about nothing and everything, right? Because, I come into it and I think about it one way. And that's why I love having the kind of people I have on because it makes me think, right? Because now, as you were talking about how that platform is helping comedians, I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I can do a whole segment and break down Wild and Out, right? Because just like you say, the cast doesn't really think about it like that. The viewers, like myself, we ain't really thinking about it like that, right? But we see the result of it. We think about it subconsciously because when
Right.
you explain it, and people would be, and I'm sure people when they listen to this, they will be like, oh, you know what? That's right. That makes sense. I see
Right.
why they
Right.
go on there and they come out and they on another level,
Right.
and just putting like, man, yo, that's genius. That is
Yeah,
genius for real.
it's amazing. Like it's just he's been able to do something that, as much as comedy, Def Comedy Jam, and all those shows allowed comics to do their things, Wild 'N Out gave comics a different type of lessons to learn, getting their timing and getting their wit, being sharp, being on point, doing things off the top of the head. All that absolutely sharpens the sword. It's steel sharpening steel.
All right, now we're back. I had a lot of fun with that previous segment, but now we're going to go into our next topic, running an entertainment company. This one was a lot of fun for me, being a podcaster and building up my platform is going outside of podcasting and just seeing and even just doing the podcast itself, right? Like marketing the show, booking the
Right,
guests, writing the content, and then making sure logistically that okay, when the day of the interview comes, like they know, the guest knows what needs to be done, make sure I can record, and it's a process, right?
right,
And I can only imagine what it's like because I was having a conversation with somebody a few days ago, actually, and kind of talking about what Jay-Z did, right? How, yeah, he started as an artist, and then went to managing labels, started his own label, and then he managing artists, producing, and now he's in the sports and just Rock Nation just taking and spreading its tentacles
right,
and touching a lot of different things within the entertainment. But when I think about people, consumers of the content and how they see it, they don't know what really goes into running a company and how complex it actually is. Because when I sat down and I looked at this topic and I was collecting my thoughts, I'm like, this is just as complicated, if not more complicated, than running a regular business.
right,
Because, like you and I were talking about, there's no formula, there's a lot more risk involved, and
right,
there's a lot more pressure, because when you put out something good, like that expectation is there instantly,
right.
and it's unique, and is speaking from personal experience as a podcaster. One of the things this thing's back in December, and I was talking to somebody about my show, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm talking
Mhm.
to them about taking it to the next level and stuff,
Right,
and I didn't realize how much I was doing until I actually, because yeah, the guest list got bigger and the content was getting better,
right,
and I was getting better as a host. But
Right.
until I really sat down and like really looked at it, I'm like, man, I'm doing a lot. Like I don't even know it. You know what I mean? Because it's like
Right.
the beautiful thing about it is like you do it. You're not thinking. You're not doing it for the money.
Right.
You're not stressing over all that. But you're just trying to get better because this is what you love to do. So I was like, man, like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, man. Yo, Dorian, I was like, yo, I'm bad, yo. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing
As you
things
should.
right.
As you should. If you don't give
Yeah,
yourself, nobody will.
right. So I mean, you go ahead, talk to me, man. Tell me something, because I know you doing the things that you do and the things you've done. I know you got something to add.
So here goes the thing about so production company. Let's just go to television or even movies. And this is what
Okay.
I talk to kids. I make sure that they understand. They're the people that are on camera, that the stars or whatever. But understand the credits. Every name that you see in the credits is a job. You understand me? So everybody can't be the on screen person, but they're hairstylists, wardrobe stylists, assistants. There's so many other positions that people can get within the entertainment industry, and every credit you see is a job.
Yeah,
So you know what I'm saying? So people have
you
to
ain't
learn how to
lying.
focus. You know what I'm saying? And when you're doing what you're doing, for example, and you're doing it by yourself, you're doing the job of 8 people. Like
Right.
those are 8 different jobs you're doing to help your podcast grow to the point of where you can now start hiring people once it's gotten enough money and things where you can take some of the pressure off yourself. But every
Hmm.
position that you see in the credits is a job. And kids have to understand that. People have to understand that because you can fit. Like I know somebody in every area of a credit on TV that I can give a job that's not in the entertainment industry. Whether it's security, because I know some guys that are ex-policemen and I can get them in there to do security. You know what I'm saying? There's just, oh, my man is a driver and they need drivers on the movie set. You know what I'm saying? Like there are jobs that real life jobs cross reference into jobs in the entertainment industry. You know people without even realizing that you do know people that do a lot of the same things or similar things, and you
Yeah.
can put them in position to excel in the entertainment industry. And
Hmm.
and it's a different job when it's the entertainment industry as
It
opposed
is.
to everyday job that you may doing because you have to survive in your family and things like that.
Yeah.
And running Nick's company, Incredible Entertainment, just it covered so much. It covered electronics. He had headphones. He still has headphones that were doing really well. They were right behind Beats at one point. He was a step ahead. Beats
Right.
was doing Beats, and he went and did a infomercial for Beats at, I believe it was one of those stations where they sell infomercial
Oh,
videos
like
where
a
they
QVC
oh,
kind of thing.
QVC actually. He did
Yeah.
that. And then the guy from Monster who made the Beats headphone at the time said, "What do you think about getting your own headphones? Instead of you helping them make money, make your own money." And
Right.
Nick thought about it and it made sense. And he started doing his own headphones. And it's got to be almost 10 years now. He's been selling headphones. Then we were in the space of selling school supplies with Office Depot. We had backpack and we had pens and little drives, six terabytes and 32 terabyte drives that you can carry around. Like he had his hand in so many other things than just television and movies and music. It's an entertainment company, and there are a lot of pieces. He has to hire the right people to help delegate and help get things done in an efficient way because he can't be on top of everything all the time. That was kind of what my role was. Get back to him with what was happening on stuff, let him know what hiccups may have happened and how it got
Hmm.
taken care of, or just take care of it without him even knowing and just let him know that things are progressing. And
Right.
that was the daily grind. That was a 24/7 job. I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like I can never shut my phone off. I can put it on a certain ring. Like Nick had a ring that would overtake my phone being on silent. I had to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And then I traveled with him as his road manager. So wherever he went, I was there and had to take care of logistics for traveling and be the liaison between whatever company he's hiring him to make an appearance, or it's a TV appearance or a music appearance or DJing or whatever he was doing, because he did a plethora of things. I was that go-to guy in between, on top of still helping him run his entertainment company and helping it grow.
Wow. Here's something I thought about, because when we talk about how many functions there are, especially like those credits, right? The jobs.
Right.
Now, before I got to podcasting, I've worked with tour promoters, I've booked
Uh-huh.
shows for artists, I've got my hands in a few things, right? But it
Okay.
made me think about, because this is a conversation I have with a lot of creatives. I had this with my guest, who's a freelance writer for CNN Travel and GQ and big time music producers and all other kinds of creatives.
Right.
And one of the things that I talked to them about was the barriers being eliminated and people being able to do it. Everybody's a rapper, everybody's a producer. Those who really understand, because one of the things I always talk about is how, mainly in podcasting, it's like there's probably over 1 million shows now. Everybody
Right.
and their mother has something to say. But
Right.
what separates the good shows from the not so good shows are the people that understand how, because at the end of the day, it's a business, right? This is entertainment. And if you understand how entertainment works, you will be able to put out good content to it. And I maybe not be saying it correctly, but that's just how I've been looking at it. Because it's like, what I tell people is, I come in and look at this from an entertainment perspective. I'm
Right.
looking at, how are we marketing this? How are we writing this? How are we doing this? How are we doing that? It's more than just getting on and talking. There's way more to a good product, entertainment product, than just coming out here trying to entertain people or do
Right.
whatever, inform them, whatever you do. So that was something you made come to mind, because I never really thought of it like that, right? Yes, I looked at the credits, but I never really looked at it like those are jobs,
Right.
because you're
Yeah.
right, they
And
are.
people miss that. And then I give you another example, and I tell kids this too, and adults. People want to be stars, and I use this as an example. So Ice-T been on what, Law and Order for years, and if you look up his net worth, I believe Ice-T's net worth is $35 million,
Wow.
which is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now go look up the net worth of the guy that created Law and Order. His name is Dick Wolf.
Right.
You won't know Dick Wolf if you seen him walking down the street, but Dick Wolf's net worth is $250 million.
Mm.
So being on camera is good and notoriety, and you make money. But if you're a creator, you make a lot more money, and you go without being seen. You can walk around. You can be
Mm-hmm.
wealthy, just walk around, and people won't really know who you are unless they're really in the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
creating content is a much better position to me. It may not be for everybody than being on camera or being the star. I don't like the star. Like, I'm a team player. And if you ask your cousin John knows I'm a team player. I don't care about scoring 40 points. I let other people do that. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
care about what you do defensively and making the right passes to help the team win. I play the background all the time. I don't care. Like, being the one, I'm not one of the ones that want to be the one. That's not for everybody.
Right.
And I don't like that. But I like creating.
That
And if
manager
I
that always want to
create,
be in the music video.
right, exactly. If I can create it and
Right.
make the money and hire, because remember, if I'm creating it, I'm hiring the person on camera. So I'm
Right.
making more money than you are.
That's true.
I'm giving you a job.
That's true. Very true.
So people got to understand that being the content creator, being the show creator, the writer, learn how to write, learn how to be the creator and
Yeah.
own this. And you're giving people jobs,
Yeah.
and you have your anonymity. You can walk around and people won't really know who you are. But unless you want to be famous, you got more money than whoever you hired.
Now for the interview. I'm really looking forward to this. We've been having a great conversation thus far, and, and like this is a really exciting episode. So I want to go ahead and jump into the interview, let the listeners learn more about you, things that you've
Okay.
done, and some of the things that you got your hands in now. My first question to you is, what's been your journey thus far? Going from, just kind of walk us a little bit from where you started and how you got here.
So I got a bachelor's degree in communication, mass communication. I was studying computer programming because computers were the future, obviously, at that point when I was in college. And I had a sociology teacher who told me that I'm better doing something that I love than something for the money. And that day, I changed my major because I played on the college, my team in college, but I knew I wasn't going to make it to the NBA. Yeah, I could have went overseas, but I wasn't really big on that. Like I didn't really care about I love basketball, but I didn't want to go to another country and play when I had a degree and I figured I could work in entertainment. So I did that, got the degree, couldn't find a job getting out of college. I had to work in a department store that my aunt got me a job as a stock associate. Finally got in touch with somebody at HBO and they put me in their temp pool. They have their own in-house temp pool for when they need a temp. They just go within the people that they know. Get into that. I actually am answering phones one day because everybody's at the Christmas party. I'm answering the main line. Then I get an opportunity to get a job in accounting and clerical files. Now, again, that's not my major. That's not where I took up classes in, but it's HBO. It's a way to be in HBO. You have to learn how to get in first and then finagle your way into what you really want to do. So my point was, all right, it's HBO. I'm going to get in however I get in and then work my way within once I'm inside. And in doing that, I met a couple of people and met this woman who worked in HBO Sports, who was a producer. Told her what I studied, what I want to do, whatever. She then, in turn, offered me a position, a paid internship, summer internship position. Now, I'm 23 and I have a staff position with stocks and benefits and clerical files. And then I got offered the paid internship where I'm going to lose all my benefits and everything, but now I'm going to be doing what I wanted to do, what I studied to do in college. Which, let's be honest, most people what they study to do in college, they don't necessarily work in that field when they get out. They work in a completely different field, and so I'm one of the lucky ones to be able to have that opportunity. So I left clerical files, left the benefits and everything to chase what I wanted to be a part of, which was production, and worked at HBO Sports. It was my introduction of a paid internship and got me into the game. I was there for 3, 4 years, kind of reached the ceiling where they weren't allowing me to progress anymore. So I left there. And all the people at HBO were shocked that I was leaving. So I left, got an opportunity to write for a basketball movie that was on HBO. And this was early internet where they needed a writer to write about what the project was. It was on a movie called Rebound, which was the Earl Manigault story. Earl
Okay.
Manigault's a streetball legend from New York City. And during all this time, I'm actually playing street ball in New York. So I know about Earl Manigault and I'm engulfed in the culture because I live it every day. So I became a writer from doing that and they loved it and it worked. Cool, that was the one job and it was out, probably worked for a couple of weeks. Then in working on a project, which I'm the most proud of project that I've ever worked on, at HBO was a project called Journey of the African American Athlete, which was the significance and the input of Black athletes in sports over 100 years. All sports, cycling, horse racing, basketball, baseball, football, hockey, track and field, the Olympics, all the trials and tribulations we had to go through to get an opportunity to compete in these sports with white athletes. And once we got in, we pretty much broke the doors down, and the games have changed ever since that.
Right.
So that show won what's called a Peabody Award, which is one of the highest awards you can win.
Yeah.
I mean, I did all the footage research. I did so much for that show. So that show meant a lot to me. Then I got an opportunity to work at, which was then that point, my next favorite job was at the NBA. Now, I still play basketball, like NBA. That's what I wanted to do. Like, I can't get any better than that. I'm a producer
Right.
at NBA Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So creating and editing in-house promos. So like if you went to a Charlotte Hornets game and they inside the arena they were playing a promo for the team to introduce the team, I
Mm-hmm.
cut a lot of those for different teams. I made those for different teams because back then the NBA did everything. They didn't have their own in-house teams to create those things.
Okay.
So did that for a couple of years, then started working at a company called Classic Sports, which then became ESPN Classic, where they showed old sporting events, old basketball games, football games, baseball, old games, because people, it was nostalgic and people loved watching old games, even though they knew what the turnouts were,
Right. Right.
but they still loved going back and seeing those games and what it was and where it brought them back to where they were at the time it was happening, and they loved those games. So I
Mm-hmm.
was a producer there. After Classic Sports was purchased by ESPN, stayed there for a couple of years. And then ESPN, whose main office is in Bristol, Connecticut, which is nothing but farmland. I'm a city dude. And they said, you have to go up there. And I was like, yeah, I'm resigning. I'm not going to Bristol, Connecticut. That's not for me. I've done enough in the space of producing to find another job. And just so happens that HBO Sports called me back to work on another documentary. So I came back as an associate producer, left as a production assistant, came back as an associate producer, produced on a documentary on the great Bill Russell, on his life. You doing all this, you get to meet so many of these your fans or people that were a part of his life that you know about, ex-basketball players, coaches, whatever. And I got to meet Bill Russell and things like that. So that got actually nominated for an Emmy, but we didn't win. But it was great to be nominated, like to be at the sports Emmys and be nominated.
Yeah.
So then that left there, started working at a company that was ahead of its time called hoopstv.com. Hoopstv.com was the first internet site for basketball. But this is when people had dial-up. You know what I'm saying? This was
Yeah.
like in the 90s. Couldn't stream so well. They didn't have smartphones yet either. Again, I'm telling my age, which is fine with me. I don't care. On this website, I was the production coordinator for the street ball section of the website. So I was responsible for everything street ball, all the street ball videos that we got in and the stories that we told. I was responsible for those stories being accurate, being told, being edited. I was the final say. Like you see them all the time now on your phone. You go to Overtime or Bleacher Report, and you see
Right.
high school. We were doing that way before this. Hoops TV was doing that way before this, but it was strictly basketball, high school, college, pro, women, Europe, summer basketball, everything. That was like my best job that I had ever had because I was still playing basketball at the same time. People don't understand here in New York, being a street basketball player at the level that I was playing on, it was like being a professional. Certain leagues you got paid to play in, cash money, $500 to play in one game. You're going to give me $500 to play in a basketball game? That's great. I love that. On
Yeah.
top of my job, it was just a win-win situation for me. So after Hoops TV folded, I got another opportunity to go back to HBO for my third term to work on another documentary. It was a boxing documentary on different fights that happened during different times. Ended up winning an Emmy for that. So now I got a sports Emmy under my belt for producing a documentary. After that gig, it kind of started slowing up here in New York. And I kind of felt I had reached the ceiling in New York altogether. it was time for me to possibly go to LA. I had been back and forth to LA for different gigs with other companies I had worked for, had a group of friends, and figured, all right, let me go out there and give it a try. It can't hurt. Give it a try. ESPN, a friend of mine who was like a senior vice president at ESPN at the time, they had created a show called ESPN Hollywood, which was the entertainment tonight for athletes. You got to see what they did off the playing field. You know, whether they were doing music or they were doing charity work or they were on vacation. You got to see them and know them as a regular person. And the athletes loved it, especially the football players, because you only know about 20 football players. All the rest have helmets on. You don't know what they look like
Right.
or see them as regular people. So they loved this show. But my guy, who was the senior VP, his guy, who was the president, left. And whenever he left a job, he took him with him. So when they left, the new brass came in and canceled anything that they had. So that show got canceled. But while doing that show is when I met Nick Cannon. He had a movie that had a basketball theme in it. And we would pair celebrities with athletes that had films that was similar to what that athlete did. So I did the interview with him. This was like during his first season of Wildin' Out. He invited me to come watch Wildin' Out, and I came and saw the show and liked the show, whatever the case may be. My show gets canceled. I go hang out with him and my boy, who's managing his Knicks music career on our radio interviews he's doing. And Nick tells my boy, ask me if I would become his road manager. And I'm like, yo, I don't even know what that is. You know, I don't know music. Like, I'm a television producer. I don't know what a road manager is. And he's like, yo, it's just travel with him, make sure he's all right, whatever, whatever. I was like, oh, well, it's better than unemployment. Let me try it. Go out on the road with Nick. It's me, him, and his trainer on the road on the bus, going from city to city, doing radio promotions for a single he had at the time called Dime Piece. That was under Motown, I believe. In doing so, we got to know each other better, and I got to realize that he was a smart dude. He was smarter than people really knew. Like on the outside, everybody thought he was corny, me included. But when I got to know him, I was like, yo, this dude is not corny. He's actually very smart. He knows the history of music. He's created this show Wildin' Out on his own. He put up his own money to do this. Like, he's a smart dude. I like working with him. So when the tour was over, he told me, look, I want you to be my right-hand guy. We'll produce shows together because I'm always coming up with concepts and shows, and we can do that together, as well as you being my road manager. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So then created a show on MTV called Son of a Gun, which was a reality show about rapper Corey Guns, who's now signed to Young Money. He was like the hottest underground rapper in New York City at the time. His pops is Peter Guns, who everybody knows from Love and Hip Hop. So we do this reality show, drama series. Nick and I'm an executive producer on that. It's my first executive producer role. We do that. We get one season. People wanted a second season, and MTV didn't feel like the numbers were right. They screwed it up anyway because they didn't go in the direction we wanted to go. And then that died, and we didn't get a second season. But I'm still working with Nick, and we're producing for Nickelodeon. We're producing a music video countdown show that he created. Now I'm co-executive producer on that, as well as him doing everything that he's doing. America's Got Talent. He was doing so much, it was ridiculous. You know, he got married, and then he creates his company, and then he wants me to be an executive there. And, you know, all these things are happening. Like, it's just happening overnight, it seems like. So producing, then Wildin' Out goes away for a couple of years, and it comes back. And now MTV wants me on as a producer because I deal with the cast and talent very well. They kind of respect me, and we have a rapport. So MTV realizes that and decide we want you as a producer to deal with the cast and the talent, because you can get them to do things and get things done, and that'll be one less thing for us to have to deal with. So I become a producer on Wildin' Out, help comedians with their jokes. They run jokes by me, especially when we shot in New York. They wanted to do New York jokes. They would run jokes by me to see if they made sense, or you don't want to be booed. Like you don't want to
Right.
be corny. Like sometimes you want to be corny. Like the king of corny on Wild 'N Out is Emmanuel Hudson, but he
Uh-huh.
runs with it. Like he's okay with that. That's his lane, and he loves it, and people love him for that. So I was heavily involved with Wild 'N Out, and then after season 12, we kind of went our separate ways because I wanted to get back more into producing. Now I'm in the process of two different shows: a drama, reality show, docu series. I would say I'm in the process of possibly selling, and then I have a scripted drama that we're getting writers aboard to kind of write some episodes. So I'm in that space of now. I'm doing my Dick Wolf now, creating my content.
That's a really interesting journey too to see. That's always the fun part, right? Getting to talk to people, see where they started, and see how. Because it's like my mentor, Yolanda Latham, telling me how she started as a receptionist and now she's VP and partner. So just kind of hearing that, like again, hearing you studied mass comm in college and changing your major. You go and do this. All these different companies, and it's just always just it's almost like what we think about as far as like the map of success, right? And how people have this, they envision it as this straight line, but really it's just like a graph. It's like a regular graph, up and down, left and right, and you go in all these different places and you don't know where it takes you, but eventually it leads you where you want to be.
Right.
And that's what all of this has done for you. So I
Yeah.
guess what's the big picture look like for you? I guess you're staying on the producer path, and because I know you say you're getting your Dick Wolf on now, and
Yeah.
being a
For sure.
content creator. So I'm guessing that's where your focus is going to be for the remainder. Am I
Yeah. For
correct?
the remainder of my career, I think I'm going to stay in the content creator space because obviously everybody thinks they have the winning idea, the winning TV show that they think can push things over the top, and it's the new one. And I'm one of those people too. But because I've been in this business for over 25 years, I also have the relationships to make those dreams possible. Like to
There you
find
go.
people that believe in it as well, that are in those type of positions that want to
Right.
partner with me to make that happen.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing with these first two projects. I'm partnered with a company called Endeavor, which is a huge media company. They started as a agency for talent, where they were agents, but now they've expanded to doing productions. My guy who hired me at ESPN Classic and he hired me at Hoops TV is now at Endeavor as a senior VP, and he's now partnered me with Endeavor. Not Endeavor represents me; we're partners in these projects. So once one project happens, it's going to open the floodgates, and I got a whole lot ready to put out there.
I'm excited for you, and I cannot wait to see what comes of all of this. I know John probably let me know.
Yeah,
I'll be on the
yeah,
lookout for it as well. Again, it's exciting, and to hear your story and to see how far you've come, and to hear about some of the things you got in the works. You got a lot to look forward to, obviously. So, and just off the little bit I know is well deserved. It's your time. Do what you do, right? So
I appreciate that.
make
Appreciate that.
yeah. Make it happen, man. Make it happen. So really quick, just want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to come on the SANE Show. I really appreciate it, and it's really been a pleasure talking to you. I enjoy all of my guests, but I really enjoyed this interview right here. So
I
it's
appreciate that.
really, yeah, really great, really insightful. A lot of takeaways. Like I already know I'm gonna tell the listeners, like, yo, y'all gotta listen to this one because a lot of gems right here, a lot of gems. So
I
thank you again
appreciate
for coming on the same show.
appreciate it. And anytime, man. It doesn't, whether you get in contact with me direct or get in touch with John. If I'm
Oh,
available, I'll always be available to do it anytime.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Means a lot coming from someone like yourself. Really quick, listeners, definitely take notes. Again, he's dropped a lot of gems. Be sure to continue liking and subscribing and sharing the SANE Show. Really appreciate you guys for listening. Again, go check us out on social media. And you're listening to the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. And until next time, we're out.
Peace.